Happy Sunday. Happy Valentine's Day. Excuse me. Let me put my banner up here. How are y'all doing on this Sunday? Let me know where you guys are streaming in and chiming in from. Where are we at? And throw me some hearts and let me know if you can hear me. Take off this jacket. How are y'all doing? Happy Valentine's Day to everybody. Say hello. Don't be strangers. I am not going to be on here long before you all. As you can see, the title of today's message. First off, I hope that all of you lovebirds are having an amazing Valentine's Day so far, that you guys are saturating your loved ones just with love and grace and favor and just abundance and increase and overflow and just all that good mushy stuff. But if you guys see the title of today's message, it is 1 year later. Many of you know, some of you don't know, but exactly 1 year ago today, I started writing my first book, Pray and Obey. Ready or not, here I come. Yes, I started my book on February 14th, 2020. This was my first kingdom assignment. I don't want to say in my feelings today. I'm not even going to say today's bittersweet. It's just a huge milestone, for me, because I have shared, especially for those of you guys who have purchased a book, and thank you for those who have purchased it and have supported, whether you purchased from me or even if you got it from Amazon. Hey, sis, happy Valentine's Day. I, again, just want to say thank you for your support. Y'all, now that I look back a year ago today, writing my book, I was in such a dark place this time last year. And what I really wanted to come on here to encourage you guys, especially since I have my ministry that I do in the morning with my Purpose Pushers group, my marriage ministry that I'm a part of, I encounter so many women that are just now finding out, their purpose or their assignment or their calling that God has for them. Happy Valentine's Day, Ashley. And so many women, so many people, I'm not going to say women, so many people think that you have to be whole and better and right before God can use you. But that's not always the case. When I got my call last year, when God called me and I said yes, and he said, your marriage will be a testament of my grace and my glory. Your assignment, you're going to be an author. You're going to write a book. I was in a dark place. I don't know if you guys know. Those of you who have the book, who have read the book, then you should know this. It's not a secret. I was in such a dark place. I was broken while I wrote this book. I was in my wilderness while I was writing this book. I went through the fire while I was writing this book. Life was hard. My marriage was on rocks while I was writing this book. And so often I encounter people that think they got to be right before God can use them. Thank you so much for your support, sis. So many people think they have to be right before God can use them. They have to be whole. They have to be healed. That life just has to be better before you can fulfill your kingdom assignments. And I am here to tell you that it's absolutely not true. God will use you while you're broken. God will use you while he is crushing you. God will use you while you're in the wilderness, while you're in a fire, while you're going through your storm. There is no limits to when and how and whom God will choose to use. So I want to encourage those of you who may have, what your assignments are, what God has called you to do, but maybe you feel like you just don't know when to start. You don't know how to start. You don't know where to start. You don't know if you should start. I am here to encourage you, to tell you to do it, to tell you to keep going. Because as I look back on my life a year ago today, I remember sitting on the couch starting this book, broken, completely broken. Not only did God strip me, this book allowed me to strip myself and be vulnerable. One of the hardest chapters that I wrote in this book was the marriage chapter. I've shared it before. Another chapter in here is called Spiritually Out of Shape. God gave me that title before the content. And for those of you guys who don't know, this book was written in a real timeline from the depression chapter all the way to the end of the book. So I'm not going to give you all the chapters. You got to buy the book. But this book was written in a real life timeline. And when God gave me the content, or should I say the chapter title, Spiritually Out of Shape, he gave me all the titles of the different chapters, and then the Holy Spirit started ministering to me and giving me the content for those chapters. But Spiritually Out of Shape, again, he gave me that title. I started putting together the content for it. And as I got to closing that particular chapter, I didn't realize that it was me that was spiritually out of shape. So that chapter is very heartfelt. I still can't read this book without crying, without getting all choked up, because this book, this was my baby. And you guys, if you didn't know, I've shared this before. I thought this was my purpose. I did, because again, I was just being called for the first time. God is like, write a book. I'm like, okay, so when I finish the book, I've fulfilled my purpose. Oh, little did I know. I was so ignorant, not knowing, but I thought this was all that God had for me to do. When I said yes, I knew the outcome of what I was saying yes to. I just didn't know the full totality of what God had in store for what I had to endure. This was just my first of many assignments. So again, just to wrap all of this up, I really want to encourage those of you under the sound of my voice, whether you're watching this live or hashtag you're catching this on replay, you don't have to be completely healed and whole for God to use you. Believe it or not, your yes, someone is counting on your yes. Someone is counting on your obedience. Your yes is going to set other people free. One thing that I have learned, and I'm still learning, and in the process of learning, is that when God calls you to be the forerunner or the trailblazer, or you're set to go first, he allows your life to be used as a testimony, as a testament to his grace and his glory. So there are things that you have to endure that others may never have to face. But because you're going first, you're able to go back and tell others what you encountered so they may never have to experience it. Good morning, Kiana. You're able to go back and tell others about the pitfalls so they never have to encounter them. You're able to tell others the strategies of the enemy and the traps and the snares of the enemy and the strategies that allowed you to overcome. That's what it means to be a forerunner for the kingdom. That's like the John the Baptist, the voice in the wilderness. You're paving the way for the way that's to come behind you. I just want to encourage you to keep going. I get it. You may be broken. You may be going through. You may be disappointed with God. I was upset and frustrated with God when he called for me to do this, because I was in such a horrible place. And I felt like I was just putting all my business on Front Street. I felt like I was just exploiting my life, my marriage, just for the world. This book was almost like a diary, of mine. And I felt like I was just putting all my business out there for the world to judge. And I remember God telling me when I was wondering what to write, he said, as long as you have pain, you will always have content. You always have something to write from that place of pain. And I remember God telling me, it's not about you. I get it. You don't understand now, but what I'm taking you through, what I'm allowing you to go through, what I'm walking you through is not about you. You will understand it when the time is right. None of that made any sense to me. None of that. Like I said, all of this was new to me. None of that made sense. Why are you allowing me to suffer, but tell me it's not about me? Now I understand. Now I come across so many people that are just like, oh my gosh, your book helped me, or your testimony helped me, or what you've gone through, what you've shared, what you've been transparent about, what you've been vulnerable about has helped me. You've helped me in more ways than you could imagine. But y'all, it isn't me. Not only was it not about me, I'm just doing what God called for me to do. I will admit, I don't always like it. I don't always like my assignments. I don't always like what he set before me. But I'm learning to understand now. There are people that are counting on my yes. They're counting on my obedience. Not just people and nations, but my family. My children, my children's children, like for generations to come. Whatever it is that God is calling for you to do, trust him and follow him. You don't have to have it all figured out. It'll make sense when the time is right. I've gotten so much revelation just from my walk with God from this time a year ago, just from where I'm at now. I'm not in that dark place anymore. I lost a whole lot over this last year since I wrote this book. But I found myself, not only finding myself, I found God. I've said this before. You cannot find yourself without finding God first. And I learned so much about God in this past year. I've learned so much about myself. I learned more about myself in this last year than I've known about myself in the last 41 years that I've been alive. Walking with God is not easy. Following God is not easy. Being obedient to God is not easy, but it's so necessary. Not only was I broken, it allows me to look back on my life like, wow, I wasn't really living life without God being involved in my life, without him being the center of my life, without him being first and foremost in my life. So again, I want to encourage you, whatever it is that God is calling for you to do. I speak to ladies about this on a regular. Some of you, God has told you have a story to write your book. Some of you, God has told you have a ministry to start. Some of you, God is telling to start with your podcast, start with your YouTube, start with your videos. Just get started. You don't have to have it all figured out. And so often we get to the point where God gives us an assignment. We want all the details for those instructions. And that's not how it works when you follow God. He will give you the assignment and then you just got to step out. And in your stepping out, he'll begin to give you provision. He'll begin to give you instructions. And God is very intentional and very strategic. Like, I did not know how many chapters this book was going to be. I did not know what the chapter names was going to be. I did not know how long or how short this book was going to be. I did not know that until I said yes, until I began to step into it and start walking through it. God hasn't let me down yet. And God is no favorite. He has no favorites in man. So I want to encourage you, whatever it is. Yes, walking with God is not a cakewalk. So many people think, and I used to be one of them. So I will hold myself accountable for that. But I even thought that when you say yes to God and when you're following God and when you're a child of God and when you're obeying God, that life is good. Like I said, yes, I'm being obedient. I have a good heart. I'm doing everything God wants me to do. Life is going to be great. It is the exact opposite. When I said yes to God and God took my hand, I didn't realize what I was walking into. I didn't realize after I said yes, he was going to walk me into the wilderness. I didn't realize after I said yes, he was going to destruct and tear down my whole world so he could be my world. I didn't realize after I said yes, I would see a side of God that I had never known before. But it took my yes, it took my faith, it took me trusting him. It took me gaining and digging for a relationship with God. Religion, so many of us have been bitten by that religious spirit since we were children. What culture has taught us, what society has taught us. And I've learned more about God in this last year, just from walking closely with him, than I've learned in all of my life, even being in church. You don't know God until you know God. You can't trust God until you know God. You can't walk with God until you know God. You don't find yourself until you know God. Once you get to know God, he opens his heart up to you. He reveals himself to you. It's almost like he reintroduces himself to you. It's a beautiful relationship. Like I said, it's not easy. There are times you don't understand. There are times you feel like you're in it alone. There are times you feel like God has left you. But I am here to say saying yes to God and walking with God has been one of the best, if not the best decision in my life. And even though I've always known God, I didn't have a relationship with God. That didn't start until this time last year. So many of us know God, but we don't have a relationship with him. And now that I have a relationship with him, now that I walk with him, now that I hear from him, now that I can feel him, now that I've seen him, it's completely different. I'm like, all of these years, God was not what I thought because I had never known who God really was. I didn't have a relationship with him. So I want to encourage you, whatever your assignment is, whatever God is calling you to do, dig deeper. I pray that he draws you closer to him so you can discover him, so you can get to know him. Once you understand God's character, there's a lot that you will encounter in life that you see from a completely different perspective because you now know his character. If you're caught up in religion, there are things you'll face in life that you'll be upset with God, that you'll be mad at God, that you'll blame God, that you'll think God has left you, God is not in it, but that's that religious spirit. But once you get to know God and you walk with God and it's just you and Jesus for a hot minute, life is just different. Your perspective is different. Your outlook is different. The way you perceive everything is completely different. Whatever God is calling for you all to do, just do it. Trust him. And you'll see as you walk more that it was never about you. You'll see the doors that it opens for other people. You'll see the breakthrough that your yes is allowing other people to have. You'll see the way that you're being able to pave a way for others because of your yes, because of your faith walk, because of your obedience, because of you manifesting your kingdom assignments. Whatever that is, whatever your assignment or assignments are, I can tell you now, when you walk with God, you're going to have more than one assignment. Whatever your assignments are, just know it's not about you. I get it. You're suffering for a moment. You're in pain for a moment. You're losing sleep for a moment. You're going through hell for a moment. You're confused for a moment. You feel broke, busted, and disgusted for a moment. But I'm here to tell you that too shall pass. It will not always be like that. And when you're able to see that you're able to reach back, that's what it means to build the body of Christ. You're able to reach back and tell others how God did it for you, how he saved your life, how he brought you through. It's no secret. I've shared even in my book, I went through a season of having suicidal thoughts, ready to take my life. But because God had other plans, because that was not the will of God for my life, because God put a stop on that, because God snatched me up, because God called me, because God chose me, because God marked me, God had other plans for my life. That's why I am here today. I speak to the ladies in our morning ministry. Had I taken my life, so much would have went so many other ways. Had I not said yes, I wouldn't have this book. I wouldn't have my podcast. I wouldn't have my spiritual mentorship with my academy. I would not have my marriage ministry. I would not have my purpose pusher ministry that I do. My marriage would not be stronger and going in the right direction now. There are so many things that would have went so many different ways had I not said yes, had I not followed God, had I not trusted God, had I not obeyed God. I could probably write a whole nother book on how life could have been if I didn't say yes, but I trusted God. It wasn't easy. It's still not easy. It's not supposed to be easy, but it's necessary. Now seeing the lives that I've impacted because of my yes, the people who now know God on a deeper level because of my yes, the marriages that are now being restored, the other wives that I'm able to pour into because of my yes, seeing my own marriage strengthened because of my yes, seeing my family in a different space because of my yes. It makes it all worth it, and God is still not done. I'm still excited, and so have a passion just to see what else unfolds from this story, because God was the author and a finisher of this. This book was led by the Holy Spirit. I was just a vessel. I was just a vessel that said yes. Everyone's like, how did you do it? I did it. It was all God. I gave him my yes, and in my yes, birthed this book, birthed all the other assignments that I've been a part of, amongst many more to come. Whatever that it is that God is asking of you or requiring of you, I encourage you, say yes and keep going. You're going to change so many lives. You're going to restore so many families. You're going to find yourself. You're going to find you again. You'll be whole again. A lot of you, you're looking for healing. Your healing is in your saying yes. Your deliverance is in your yes. Your breakthrough is in your yes. All of that is a faith walk. Y'all be encouraged. Stay prayed up. Stay blessed up. I'm excited. A whole year ago today, here we are. And I don't even know how many copies I've sold now. I will say, if you are interested in getting a signed copy, message me. I'm going to be signing some copies and mailing them out this week. If you're interested in just grabbing a copy, you can get it from Amazon as well. Again, the title is called Pray and Obey. Ready or not, here I come. And for those of you who have been asking about Zumba, yes, we are starting virtual Zumba tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Eastern. It'll be on my Facebook Live. So as long as you guys are followers of mine or friends of mine on Facebook, you'll be able to see it. So I'm excited. I'm just excited about everything that God is doing. What this year, what's going to unfold this year, because as I look back, this girl right here was in such a horrible place last year, was in such a dark place, was in such a confused place. Like I've gotten so much feedback from the book, not just from the content, but like from the cover, like, oh my gosh, you're slaying on there and you look so amazing. But if you only knew what was going on the inside, if you only knew what my heart was really like, what my spirit was really like, what my mind was really like, but it took me trusting God. Like, I still look back like I can't believe a year ago today I started writing a book. And for those who did not know, this book was completed in 22 days. I finished it on March 6th. Yeah, March 6th, 2020. So I started February 1st, 2020. Finished it March 6th, 2020, 22 days. And I speak about the significance of 22, on back of the book. Yes, Sequoia, I can't wait. I am ready. But I am not going to hold you guys any longer. Again, if you're interested in getting the book, a signed copy, please message me or comment on this live. If you're just interested in getting your hands on it right away, it won't be signed if you get it from Amazon, but it is available on Amazon. And for those of you Kindle lovers, thank you, Kiana. I appreciate that. And kudos to those of you who, know what your kingdom assignments are, and you've been taking that leap of faith and trusting God and getting out there and just running with God for what all he has for you. Kudos to all of you for doing that. And yes, I look forward to seeing y'all tomorrow morning again at 8 a.m. Eastern for Zumba here on Facebook. Let's hope Facebook cooperates as far as with the music. I got to remember to put in disclosure, whatever. I do not own the rights to this music. Y'all stay blessed. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for your support. Thank you for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your Valentine's Day. Pay it forward. Love on somebody. Let somebody borrow your smile. Let somebody borrow your confidence, your faith, your excitement, your peace, your joy. Just shower somebody. Saturate somebody with your love today. Y'all be blessed, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.